Okay, so the School Nutrition Association of Vermont has a strong commitment to advancing professional development in our state. And this webinar is one example of the ways in which we're working to demonstrate that commitment to you and to bring professional development opportunities to school nutrition professionals here in Vermont. The other ways that we do that include our annual conference, regional workshops, and collaborating with the Agency of Education every year on Summer Institute. We're also working to develop scholarship and other opportunities to assist Vermont school nutrition professionals to get training at other national and local SNA events. We're going to discuss some of these different opportunities at more depth later on in the webinar. But first, Kathy, will you tell us about some of SNA Vermont's current goals in the area of professional development?
Absolutely, Anor. We have a professional development committee now as part of the SNA Vermont board, and we have some very specific goals. Our current goal for certification is to increase numbers from 16. There are currently 16 certified members in Vermont. We'd like to increase that number to 30 by 2015. In addition, we'd like to increase the number of SNA Vermont members who've achieved school nutrition specialist status, and we'll explain that in detail in a little bit. But we'd like to increase the number from 6 to 10, also by 2015. We think these are really reasonable goals, and we are really, really here to support those of you who are interested. And judging from the amount of people who are here today, I think we might well be on our way to seeing that number rise, and I'm very excited about that.
I think so. We're thrilled that so many of you made the time to be on this webinar today. It's fantastic, and it speaks to what we already know about you, which is how committed and dedicated you are to your profession and making a difference for Vermont's kids. So Kathy, you've been in child nutrition for almost 15 years now. Tell us why you think certification is important, and how would it be beneficial for the people on the call?
Great. Well, I'm sure all of you have thought about this before you joined our webinar. You've been thinking about how you can somehow demonstrate your professional commitment, and I think that's exactly what this kind of opportunity offers. It's a demonstration of your professional commitment to excellence, and a demonstration of all the time and effort that you put into your work. I believe that as we advance our careers and deal with ongoing changes in our profession, a commitment to continuing education can be a way that you establish yourself as a true professional, especially to others outside the profession who may not always view your work in the same way that you do. Certification lends professional credibility within our field. It helps SNA members and actually the organization as a whole to demonstrate the integrity of this profession of school nutrition as a profession to the public and to other organizations and groups. And by the public, we can be thinking about our communities and parents who we interact with all the time, and having this kind of certification also helps other people to view you in a different light. Becoming certified isn't only a professional accomplishment, though. It's also a personal one. It takes a lot of time and effort and work to keep up with the standards in our field and best practices, and we know that all too well. But when we go through such a process, it really helps us know that we've absolutely done the best that we can do. And personally, I think it makes us feel good. Like we've really, really put that effort in, and we have something to show for it in addition to all the amazing and wonderful food and healthy children that surround us. Finally, it's my hope also that certification becomes more prevalent in Vermont, and that we will see that this helps child nutrition professionals climb the career ladder, both in our schools as well as perhaps in other facets of child nutrition and school nutrition. Nutrition in general is a booming field, and the more you can certify that you've taken the time and effort to learn what's involved in child nutrition and school nutrition, the more opportunities may open for you down the road. These may be paid professional positions, but they also may be volunteer positions or state and local leadership positions, board positions, all kinds of places where people are needed to offer their expertise and knowledge. So there you have it, Anor. There are so many reasons.
There are so many reasons, Kathy. Thank you. All right. So what we're going to cover today are the different, the first thing we're going to cover are the different levels of certification that's offered through the National School Nutrition Association. And there are 4 levels, as you can see.
Yeah, so the place to start with these, with understanding certification, that's where we're starting today, is that there are two key components to certification. The first are the core courses, and this is where you start. This is where you begin. The core courses are 10-hour courses in either nutrition or food safety. It's that simple. You have to take the core courses that are SNA approved, and honestly, looking at the list of people, many of you probably have already taken those courses. They're courses that may be offered through your state agency, our state agency, or through the National Food Service Management Institute, or at an SNA conference that you've attended. You also may use college credits in these areas, and these will meet any of the requirements for core courses. What's good about the college credits is that you can use college credits that you've taken at any time in your life. Those don't expire, whereas core courses have to be taken within a certain time period. We'll go over that in a little bit. So that's the core courses, and that's how to start. Secondly, you'll see that what you do is you add on key areas, and those are workshops, seminars, and classes that are shorter in length. They need to be a minimum of 2 hours, but we'll talk a little bit how you can actually combine them to create 2 hours. And they're on very specific topics that fit SNA's 4 key areas of study. But that list is long, and you can do a lot of different fun and exciting workshops to meet those key areas.
Yeah, and we're going to show you examples of these later on.
Yes, exactly. So let's look at level 1 to start. Here are the requirements for level 1. Individuals need to complete, first of all, the 10-hour SNA-approved nutrition education core course, plus a 10-hour SNA-approved food safety and sanitation course. And if you've been through Serve Safe or Serving It Safe, those are all, of course, SNA-approved food safety courses. So any of those that you've taken will count. 1 college credit course in nutrition or in food safety and sanitation, including HACCP and microbiology, if anyone's taken that in college, will also meet that requirement. So 1 college credit will count towards that 10 hours in either of these areas. Other than college courses, your core courses cannot date back further than 5 years from the date of application. As I said before, a college course is good from whenever you took it, even if it was 25 years ago. But for an actual course like food safety or a nutrition healthy edge course, something like that, that would have to be taken within the last 5 years prior to applying. Okay. I just would like to note one more thing, that anyone applying now for initial certification or moving up levels is required to submit documentation of a high school diploma or a GED. This is actually a new requirement through SNA within the last year, I believe. So if you're applying for your very, very first certification, you will need to document that first, submit documentation. If you're already certified and just maintaining your certification, you do not have to submit a high school diploma or GED certification to renew.
And is that, Kathy, is that true if you're going up a level? So let's say you're already certified at level 1, but now you want to go up to level 2. Do you know?
I believe that if you're moving up a level, you do have to have your high school diploma. If you're renewing the same level, you do not. But if you're moving, for example, from level 1 to level 2, you would need to do that.
You would need to document, document that you have that. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
And I should also say that as we move forward, you'll see that you may find you've already met level 1 requirements, and we may get to level 3 for some of you, and you'll say, oh my goodness, I'm almost there. And you can apply, you can skip levels and go right to that level if you want to.
Okay, that's good to know.
So we'll go through those levels.
Yeah. Okay, so, and this is just, again, we'll show you some of these websites later on in the presentation. That these are places where you can find core courses to take to meet that first 20 hours for level 1 certification. And we're going to also be sending all of you who are attending this webinar an email after the webinar that includes a handout that has all this information on it. So you do not need to be frantically scribbling down any of this information right now. You're going to get this information from us after the webinar is over.
Generally, the core courses, just so you know, are things that take a longer period of time. So you enroll in like a 10-week course, and it's just a longer than a 2-hour workshop, and that's the real significance.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the requirements for level 2. And the first thing that's important to remember as we go through these levels is that the work you did to achieve level 1 carries over to level 2, and the work you do to achieve level 2 carries over toward meeting the requirements for level 3. So for example, here when we look at level 2, the core requirements are the same as level 1, the 10-hour nutrition education core course and the 10-hour food safety and sanitation core course. But this doesn't mean that you have to go take 2 more courses. These are the same 2 core courses that you already have met to achieve level 1 before you go on to level 2. But now what's added in at level 2 are key area requirements. And these, here you see the 4 different key areas that SNA has where they want you to get trained and continue ongoing training for yourself. Operations is key area 1, nutrition is key area 2, administration is key area 3, and communications and marketing is key area 4. And this shows you here the number of hours that you need in each of these key areas to achieve level 2 certification. Now, key area requirements can also be earned using college credits. And again, those could be college credits you got any time in your life. The key area courses are also courses that you have been taking every time you go to Summer Institute, every time you've attended the SNA Vermont annual conference, anytime that you've attended other workshops and trainings, those workshops and trainings that you've been doing all fit into one or another of these key areas. And from now on, SNA Vermont is going to be making sure that the key area is listed for every one of the workshops at Summer Institute, all of the workshops at the SNA Annual Conference, and any other workshops that we do, so that you know which key area a workshop will help you to meet, and you can be strategic in picking the workshops you're going to do to help you build the hours in the areas you need them.
Yes, and we're also going to try to pay very close attention to making sure that you have, at each of those kinds of conferences, that you have enough options in each of the key areas so that we don't want you to have to go to a conference and say, well, the only key area I really need now is administration, but there's no classes in that. So we've already been planning for that a little bit. And just let me give you a couple of examples of what those key areas look like. So for example, in operations, you've probably taken a lot of classes in that already. Those are culinary techniques, anything related to food safety, any of the short classes, anything related to offer versus serve, menu planning, knife safety, equipment, all of those kinds of standardized recipes, anything having to do with the daily operations of our work. In terms of nutrition, that's pretty basic. If you took a class on My Plate recently, or you want to, that would fall under that. Any dietary guidelines, a class on minerals and vitamins, for example, would fit under that. For administration, we're looking at classes such as accounting, budgeting, cashiering, computers for food service, any food service management, grant writing, leadership, wellness in the workplace, violence in the workplace, personnel management. Those are those kinds of classes. And finally, in communications and marketing, that would be a class in advertising, customer service, promotion, it's like farm-to-school promotion, if you wanted to do something like that. Any social media class, Fuel Up to Play 60 classes, that kind of thing that has to do with promoting your program. So that's a quick snapshot, but we, again, will send you that information, and it's also available on the website.
Great.
So now we're going to review Level 3, very similar to Level 2. It's building on those levels, so you still have your core requirements. But Level 3 offers you two options to achieve this level. And the first is illustrated in this slide here, labeled Table A. So in Table A, you have to submit your college transcript that documents a college course in these three areas. And they have to be 3 college credits in each of the areas: operations, nutrition, and then for the third one you can either choose administration or communications and marketing. So this option in Table A basically is about taking 3 college classes successfully and then submitting those. But there's another way if you don't want to take college classes, and Honora is going to tell us about that, and that's listed here in Table B, sorry.
Right. So this is this approach to achieving Level 3 certification just builds on the what you needed to do for Level 2 certification. So what it's really doing is adding 60 additional hours of key area training and professional development to the 70 hours of key area training that Level 2 required, plus the 20 hours of core requirements that Level 1 and Level 2 required. So this chart just shows you the number of hours that you would need to cover in each of the 4 key areas in order to achieve this level of certification.
Now I just want to go back. Can you go back, Honora, for us? So say you looked at Level 3 and you said to yourself, boy, I have in the past 20, 30 years ago I took a nutrition class at college, I took business administration class, and I'm pretty sure I took microbiology. Well, if that's true for you, even if it was all those years ago, you automatically could go to Level 3, submit your transcripts from those colleges, and you would automatically be certified at Level 3. So that's how that would work. If that's not the case, or you don't want to go to take college classes now, then you go to the next level and can do it with the core courses. But I just wanted to be clear about that. Okay, I think we can move on.
Great. So once you've completed the requirements for whichever level of certification you're going to apply for through SNA, you gather all of that information together, and you need to submit an application and an application fee. And SNA will certify you, whether you're an SNA member or you're not an SNA member, but there is a difference in the membership fee.
Yeah, it's a pretty
there's
significant.
there's a big difference in the fee for certification. If you're a member of SNA, it's $14 for level 1, $17 for level 2, and $27 for level 3. If you're a non-member, the fees are significantly higher. Now, I'll just remind you again what Kathy already said. You don't have to go through all the levels. So if you have the requirements to be certified at level 3, you don't have to apply for level 1 or level 2. You would just apply for level 3 and pay the $27 fee if you're a member, or the $177 fee if you're not a member.
Good.
You also need to maintain your certification, all right? And this is, you know, SNA wants you to keep on developing yourself as a professional, right? We have to keep learning all the time and be lifelong learners. We can't just sit on our laurels because things are changing all the time, as you know very well. So you need to renew your certification every year, and you need to take some continuing education every year. Now, continuing education units, so those are hours of workshop time and training time, all right? And it doesn't specify which key areas it has to be in, but you have to do some additional professional development every year. And so that can be summer institute courses, workshops, online courses, any of the things that help you achieve certification in the first place. You can continue to do that work each year, and that will allow you to maintain your certification.
And anything that will offer you the CEU documentation. And CEU, I'm sure most of you know, that stands for Continuing Education Unit. So every time there's a course or a workshop offered by any professional organization, generally speaking, they will offer a certain number of CEU hours, and that's, you just want to have that documented. So it could be something not affiliated with child nutrition particularly, but maybe you go to a conference in another state that's just on either nutrition or on something related to your job, that they're just offering CEUs not affiliated to SNA. Those will certainly count for renewal.
Right. And so this is where you've been wondering what to do with all those certificates that you've been getting from all the summer institutes you've attended for all the years you've been going, for example. Well, you want to be keeping them and saving them, because those add up, all right? But these, you can't go back in time for it. To renew, you have to do this every year. Yeah. All right, and these are the renewal fees for each level. Okay, now, if you ignore SNA's emails to you telling you that it's time for you to submit your annual renewal, you can seek getting your certification reinstated, even if you let it lapse.
And there may be some of you on our call, we don't know, but maybe some of you have received certification in the past and are just interested in whether that can just get picked up again. So,
but it's only within 90 days of it expiring. Okay. So if you've let it lapse for 3 years, you're out of luck. You've got to go through it again. So this is just information on reinstatement.
Okay. The final certification level, it's not actually called level 4, it's called the trainer certification, but essentially it's level 4. And that's another option for some of you as well, if you really have had everything that comes before this. So with the trainer requirements, the first thing is that it does require you to have had 2 years of experience teaching adults within the last 5 years. And in order to get that experience, or to prove that experience, you need 2 letters of recommendation and some kind of documentation that you've taught a class. It could be a cooking class, it could be an adult education home ec class, anything like that that you might have done. And with it, you will need the letters of recommendation from a current employer, former employer, or any of the customers that you've been involved with where you were a teacher trainer or a trainer.
And Kathy, I would imagine that for people who are directors and have a staff working for them at their school, if you create and conduct trainings for your staff,
yes,
that would count.
That would definitely count, yes. One of the things that you do have to be aware of with this certification is you do have to have one of the following in order to be eligible for trainer certification. You either have to have achieved level 3 certification, or you have to already have passed the exam, so you're a school nutrition specialist. You could be a registered dietitian or have an associate's, bachelor's, master's, or a PhD degree in a related field other than an advanced college degree. So you can't just go from not having any certification to trainer certification without some other credential, either from a college or from just going to level 3. But if you have any of those, then you can do the trainer certification. You would have to complete a 10-hour Train the Trainer workshop or one college credit course in adult teaching methods. But that would be waived. That requirement is waived if your college degree happens to be in education. So again, we just want to go over these. It sounds a little more complicated than it is, but when you look at it in the book, I think it'll be pretty clear. I think the thing that you might want to consider is the reason to do the trainer certification is if you actually wanted to go out and teach some of the courses offered by organizations such as NFSMI, who are always looking for very qualified trainers. You will have to go through this. Now they're requiring that to become one of the trainers for that organization, or perhaps for SNA as well, nationally. But again, a whole new world of things that you can do. Trainers have a 3-year certification period, and there's an annual fee to maintain certification, which is $55 for members or $150 for non-members. You have to renew every 3 years, and the renewal forms are mailed 3 months prior to expiring, so you should have plenty of time. And you also have to have taught at least one class within the 3-year period of having that certification in order to renew. And you would submit your class agenda and objectives and all of that information to prove that you did teach that class. So,
all right, so now we're going to move on to what it takes to become a school nutrition specialist. So this is another option. Yeah, right, Kathy, that nutrition professionals can pursue, called credentialing.
Exactly. I wish the words weren't so similar because it really does get confusing sometimes. We've just talked about certification, and now we're going to talk about credentialing. And it's just the terminology that SNA uses. Essentially, the difference is that for credentialing, for this particular credential, which is the ability to write the letters SNS after your name. That's the credential, and that stands for School Nutrition Specialist. And in order to achieve that, you basically sit for an exam. So it's a kind of a one-shot deal, although it's a much bigger deal than it sounds in just saying you just sit for an exam. So instead of submitting individual courses and showing documentation that you've gone to all these classes, you apply for this exam, and then you sit for it, and hopefully you pass it. I will say the exam's not easy. I did take it. It required a lot of study and preparation, and I will tell you now I had to take the exam twice before I passed. So let me give you a little bit of an overview and some more information about this option, because it worked for me. It can definitely work for some people. Especially if you've been in the field for a long time and you lost all that paperwork that said you took all those classes. So you can advance the slide. So basically this is an exam that tests candidates on the competencies, knowledge, and skills required by our jobs. And you do have to meet certain prerequisites to apply for the exam. We'll go over those in a minute. But then the exam covers a very wide array of topics. You can advance there. And Honor will tell you a little bit about the eligibility requirements.
Yes, and again, you're going to be able to come back to the slides of this webinar because we'll have it posted. So we're going to go through this kind of quickly so that we have time for your questions, all right? But there's two different options that you have to meet the eligibility requirements before you can take the SNS credentialing exam. And the first one, option one, involves college credits. So you have to have 60 college credits or an associate's degree and an additional 30 college credits in any of the 4 key areas or work experience that would add up to the equivalent of 30 college credits. So it would be 3 years of work experience in the areas of child nutrition programs would give you the equivalent of 30 college credits. And then in addition, everybody has to have at least 1 year of work experience related to school nutrition within the past 5 years in any of those different settings listed there. Or your second option is that you have at least a bachelor's degree or higher, and in which case you wouldn't have any additional college credit requirements, but you would still need at least the 1 year of work experience. Okay, so once you've determined that you meet the prerequisites, so you are eligible to take the exam, you have to apply to take the exam. And it's important that you apply at least 6 weeks beforehand. You need to have time to study, and SNA needs to have time to determine that you do in fact meet the eligibility requirements and process your application. So, I mean, if I was going to take this exam, I'd apply more than 6 weeks before.
I would recommend that.
Because I think a lot of studying is required. So once you apply, right, you submit a copy of your transcript, you submit the documentation of your work experience, you submit the application and the fee, SNA will let you know that, yes, you meet the eligibility requirements, and they'll send you a handbook, which is very, very helpful in knowing what you need to study and preparing for the exam. All right, and then these are the exam fees. And as with certification, there's an annual fee to maintain your credential.
Good. Let me tell you a little bit about the exam itself. It's a very comprehensive exam. It includes 200 multiple choice questions. The candidates for the exam, when you sit for the exam, are given 4 hours to complete the exam. You have to go to a site where the exam is being given also. We have given the exam in Vermont now. I think we've given it 2 or 3 times, which is great because now we do have 6 people in Vermont who are credentialed, and that's wonderful. And I think we are working to try to make sure that that exam is offered at Summer Institute. So if this is sparking some interest, you would have until August to be thinking about sitting for the exam. When I did it, I was at a conference in another state, so you can always do that. And it's offered at almost every SNA conference. So you could, if you wanted to travel to SNA in Connecticut or New Hampshire or New York, close by, they will certainly be offering the exam there, and the list of options for taking the exam are always on the SNA website. It does take at least 3 to 4 months to prepare. The first time I took it, I was like my children who said they didn't have to read the driver's manual to pass the test. And I did not study hardly at all, and I failed. So I would highly recommend studying because it's things that you know, but you have to really study. It's a very, very picky exam. But you know what? I have to tell you that I did take it twice, and I feel a huge sense of accomplishment having done it, and all the studying was well worth it because it wasn't just about the exam. It was about really solidifying the information for me and knowing that I understood the professional information I needed to know to be successful in my job. So it was well worth it. But preparation is a key factor. And they will give you, there used to be a big book binder with pretty much all the information, and now you use a number of resources to get all the information. There's a textbook, there's all the NSSMI classes and online videos that are available, but SNA steers you in the direction of what resources are going to be the most helpful, and certainly if you choose to take the exam, I would be more than happy to share resources with you as well. The content areas are the following 9 content areas that are listed on your screen now. So it really covers everything, soup to nuts in our field. And what's listed on the screen is also how much each of the areas are covered in the exam. And what is nice if you don't pass is that they send you some information saying where your weaknesses are. And so when you study for the second exam, you only have to study a couple of content areas. So that's one benefit.
Or you could study and pass the first time.
You could do that.
There's always that option. Okay. So as Kathy said, you get your results 6 to 8 weeks after you take the exam. If you pass, you receive a certificate. You are credentialed for 3 years, and during that time you have to complete 45 continuing education units in order to maintain your credential. And if you fail the exam, you get a diagnostic report that shows what areas you were weak in. And we already talked about where you can get the exam dates. And we expect we'll be offering the exam at Summer Institute.
Yes, I'm
right?
sure we'll be.
So that would be sort of the thing to focus on, I'd say.
Yeah. So before we begin your question and answers, there's a couple of questions that are frequently asked by SNA members. So we'll run through these fairly quickly, and then you can be thinking about. We see a couple of questions. And I see actually that Erica would like us to mention that School Nutrition Association is having their annual conference in Boston, which I know you're all well aware of. And that's coming up in July, and absolutely the exam will be offered there. There will also be great resources at that conference for getting questions answered. You could pack up all your certification materials in a bag and bring it to that conference, and the people at the credentialing and certification booths that will be there will sit down with you and sort it all out and help you work through it. So thank you, Erica, for making sure that we mentioned that.
Not to mention there'll be hundreds of workshops in all the key areas that you can use to meet.
Yeah, so if you bring all your documentation to Boston, which by the way is very close, then you can show it to the credentialing and certification team, and they can say, look, you only need one more class, and it's meeting in 2 minutes. Get over there, and you're going to be done. So it could be a real slam dunk. Okay, Anor, how long does it take to process these applications for everything?
So SNA National says to give them 4 to 6 weeks for processing any of this stuff. So any application for a certification level or an application to take the credentialing exam, any of these things you need to plan ahead because they need some time to verify all the materials you submit and get you set up. All right?
Good. What about who has to submit documentation for the high school diploma?
Right. So pretty much anybody now needs to submit documentation that you have a high school diploma or a GED to get started on the certification route. And the only people who don't need to do this are people who are currently certified in a level and you're staying at that level and you're renewing your certification at that level. Then you don't have to submit documentation of a diploma or GED, but everybody else has to.
Right. Good. So just to reiterate the differences between key area hours and CEUs. Key area hours are used for applying for new certifications, changing levels and renewing certifications, and they're specific to those different areas that we talked about, topic areas. If you're renewing certification only, then you can use CEUs in any area. It doesn't matter. They're not specific. So that's kind of the difference. And it becomes more clear as you begin to gather your own documentation. The next thing is that you are able, which is kind of nice, to bundle courses for the 2-hour minimum in the key areas. So here's a great example on this slide that Utah SNA offers a state conference, and their classes are 1 hour in marketing, and then a different marketing course is later on in the day, also 1 hour. Well, you can certainly put those two classes together to get your 2 key area hours. So that's it's not that one workshop has to be a total of 2 hours. You can bundle classes, and you can also bundle the NFSMI courses if they're only 1 hour in the key areas. And that's an awesome way to do it, because you can sit down in the evening after dinner, just look at one of the NFSMI classes for an hour, and then the next night do another one, and have that key area complete.
Right. And after you sit down and you look at that NFSMI course and you complete that course, download and print the certificate.
Yep.
So the key is to remember that you need to start saving these materials so that you have them, so that you can submit for certification.
Right. We want you to get the credit. That's the title of this whole webinar.
Exactly.
So where can we find courses online? We've talked about these resources, and again, we're going to send these to you. But if you just Google School Nutrition University, and we'll show you a little screenshot of this. And Nora, do we have that?
Yep.
There it is. There's School Nutrition University. And there are some really neat courses in here. You simply sign up. There are courses that do cost money. Some of the food safety courses on this website will have a small fee. Well, some are a little more than small. But there are some that are actually quite affordable. And this is building all the time. I keep looking at this course catalog. It's getting bigger and bigger. Here's
the course catalog from today.
Great.
All right, so it shows you, they list it by key area, so it's very easy to figure out, and they tell you which ones are available right now that you can go and do.
Great. And what's nice about this is, as I said, we all have probably taken a million courses in operations, and the place where we're lacking is administration and marketing. And here you go. There's a 4-hour marketing course, which frankly sounds great. I might sign up for that tonight. And then there's some other really nice ones in administration that are just very short. So
yeah.
Now we also have National Food Service Management Institute that I've mentioned a number of times in this webinar. Here is their website. It's really also really fabulous. And what you want to do is go to where it says on the very left, online courses.
Yep, right here.
Way over there. Oh, or there too. Yeah, it's in 2 places, online courses, and there's a long list.
And here, so here's just a little sample. I went in today and I counted how many courses they have that would work for certification, and it's over 50 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is just some in the child nutrition area, but there's even several areas where there will be courses that can count.
And you can count the longer courses. There's an entire Nutrition 101 class here that would count for that core course. If you don't have a good, solid background in nutrition or a class that you can put towards that in the last 5 years, or a college class, you can just do that. And it's a 10-hour class. And again, you do it at home, at your leisure, and you learn a lot in the process.
Yeah. Here they have courses from 1 hour up to 8 listed just on this screen alone. So there's lots of different options.
So documentation, Anor.
Oh yes. All
right.
Tell us about that. So I'm just reiterating this over and over again. But SNA will accept various kinds of documentation for your continuing education units. Certificates of completion, copies of classroom rosters where you sign in, college or university transcripts, obviously, but also agendas or brochures from the program of the conference that you attend that lists the names of courses, confirmation letters telling you you've been registered, your badge, your attendance badge from conferences, receipts for that you've paid the conference fee. So all of those things are acceptable forms of documentation for submitting for certification or renewing your certification.
So if you can't find your certificate, but you remember you got an email confirming your registration, you can search for that email, and that can be the thing that that shows that you've met that requirement, which is really, really nice.
Right. And then My SNA Transcript is a document that SNA National maintains and updates for you online, but it only documents courses you take through SNA. So it wouldn't be a complete transcript of everything you've done, but it would be a place to store SNA courses that you took. Yes.
Good.
I think we've already gone through this before. This is about that you need to renew your certification every year and continue ongoing professional development. And this we've also gone over once already. If you fail to get yourself renewed in time, you do have 90 days to seek reinstatement, but you have to pay an additional fee to do that.
Right. Good. So we wanted to just spend a minute talking to you about what you can expect if you get credentialed. And so one of the questions that comes up all the time for me and at other times when I've talked to people about this particular topic is, can I expect a pay increase? I mean, let's just lay it out there. And the honest answer is that you can't honestly expect an automatic pay increase unless your school or your organization has a policy that it provides those kinds of incentives for training and certification, which is something that you should be well aware of. I think the important point here is that while that's not an automatic expectation, what we certainly encourage you to do is to have a conversation with your school's human resource specialist to find out what the policies are specific to professional advancement and compensation for that kind of professional development. We also would really strongly encourage you to make sure that the principals in your buildings, your immediate supervisors, and the superintendents know that you are pursuing these kinds of professional development opportunities. Because even if that isn't a policy now, it may, number one, become a policy in the future, and number two, just having people know that you are taking the time and maybe even spending money to advance yourself professionally is well worth it. And while you may not be able to get some kind of a pay increase, there also may be opportunities to be reimbursed for the funds that you do put into your professional development, which can be a big help, especially with things like a $200 exam, which can very well be something that your organization may be willing to reimburse you for. I think all in all, Nora and I want you to be very mindful of the fact that you do need to advocate for yourself. You need to toot your own horn, and part of getting these credentials is that you can go into the powers that be and say, not only do I cook lunch for hundreds of kids every day, but I also have a skill set and a knowledge set that's very, very unique to my profession, and I have the certification or the credentials to prove it because I've taken the steps required by my professional organization to get that. So you're going to have to toot your own horn. It's all part of the process. And whenever we talk to superintendents, principals, and business managers, we encourage them to review their policies so that, in fact, these kinds of incentives and monetary awards are part of what schools offer. But it isn't always the case at the moment. But we're hoping that we'll see that change someday, right?
Right. All right, so now we have 6 minutes left in our webinar. And we would like to know if you have additional questions. So you can type your questions into the question area and hit send, and we will see them, and we'll read them out so everyone can know what they are, and we'll do our best to answer them. So type your questions now.
Type away. Let's see if anybody has raised their hand. I'll give you a couple minutes here. Well, while you're typing your questions, we'll just reiterate to you that we are going to be sending you information that on many of the things that were in this PowerPoint. We have a one-page resource page that we'll be sending to you. So as soon as we're done here, we'll get those off by tomorrow, I suspect. So we do have our first question. We hope we can answer it. So if someone went to an SNA conference in Vermont and their certificate says 6 CEU hours but not key areas, how are we going to identify that? That's a great question. That question comes from Erica. So we are working with SNA. I'm going to be talking to SNA now. And they will, if we have approved, if SNA Vermont has approved the CEUs or the hours, and we've done that because we've contacted the national organization and they've approved the hours, then those can be used towards the key areas. So even though it says CEUs, you can still use them, but you should contact somebody on the professional development committee. And we're going to give you all of our names and emails just to be certain that that's true, that we have checked with SNA. And from now on, you really should see on all your certificates, this is a change that we've made, that your certificates from now on should state that it fits a certain key area. So anything sponsored by SNA will say that. But I think in the past, if you have CEUs, they will count.
Yes, and we will help you to determine what key area that whatever workshop you took fits in. And so we'll give you a hand with that, and you can contact any of us on the Professional Development Committee, and you see our names and email addresses up there on the screen.
Yeah, and Erica's right. She's saying she thought people might have lots of them, and that's true. You'll have a lot of CEUs, and so you can either use us as a resource or the SNA office in Washington, D.C., to help you sort out how to where those will credit. Yeah.
And this is the address and email for Miles Truax, who's the manager for certification and credentialing at the SNA National Office.
Yes.
And that office can also help you determine what the CEUs that you've already earned will count for, which key areas they will count for.
That's right. We have a question from Lisa. I've been saving all of my certificates earned for 20 years. Yes, Lisa, I know. Only the last 5 years count. So the charts you send in email should give me a step up or a step in the right direction to apply for first or second level. Yes, that's right, if I have enough time to put in. This should be an easy and doable start. Yes, absolutely. I think you should, some of the, if there were any college courses, you know, we've reiterated that those can be at any time, but the others do have to be within the last 5 years. But you'd be surprised, you know, you should look through those, and I think you'll certainly be able to do level 1 and level 2. And again, if you've got that, if you need a core course like the nutrition course, it's really not that hard to jump on NFSMI and take that class at no cost, and then it's done. So that's where I think you should start.
Right. And then if you count up your certificate from the last 5 years and you see that you have tons of hours in operations key areas, for example, but you don't have anything in marketing or administration because, truthfully, we haven't been offering very much in the way of that in Vermont. You can go, that's where I would go to the SNA University. I would go to the School Nutrition University website, and I would go to those key areas, and some of those are even free, and I would start building my hours in the key areas where I know I have big gaps.
Yes.
All right, so most of you, I bet, if you've been saving those certificates from the last 5 years and you've been going to Summer Institute every year, you probably have level 2 for sure in operations and nutrition, maybe even, but you probably don't in administration and marketing.
Yeah.
So that's where SN University can help you.
Yeah, and we would encourage you to call us too if you go through and you say, I need this specific course, or this is what would help me. Call us and we will work with the Agency of Education to get it into Summer Institute or offer it ourselves. So I think we do have to end at this point, and we don't have any other questions, and you're welcome, Lisa. She said thank you.
Yes.
But we'd like you to see, and again, this will be in your packet coming your way very soon, but here are the upcoming Vermont events in 2014. We have a wonderful set of regional workshops that are coming up. We're hoping that you'll participate in those. They're going to be super fun. I met the chefs recently, and they're wonderful. We have a tri-state conference for child nutrition on April 10th. That's Connecticut, Vermont, no, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, excuse me, pooling together. It's the child nutrition offices, and that should be a really great conference as well. Summer food training and CACFP will be in April on the same day at the same place if you're going to that. And then we want everyone, and I mean everyone, not just a few of us, to go to Boston, because not only will we learn a lot, but boy, could we have some serious fun there. So it's July 11th to 16th. Registration is open now. Talk to your superintendents now and get the funding to go to that before school's out. This is a huge, you can go and advocate for yourself and say, I need to go, this is what I need, I can be certified if I take these 5 more classes, and I can do it all in one weekend. And all my colleagues from around the country will be there, and I'll bring back a ton of stuff. So I want you all to go really sell yourselves for that. And finally, of course, our wonderful Child Nutrition Summer Institute and the SNA Vendor Show will once again be in August. And you can look for information in October for our fabulous SNA Vermont annual meeting and conference. So all that's coming your way.
And we want to thank you. We want to thank you for taking the time to be on this webinar and for your questions. And thank you for everything you do every day to provide great nutrition for all of the kids in Vermont.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. It was a lot of fun. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.